Hello everyone, this is that methodology we have for you. I am Dr. Sam Okobike, taking you on this research methodology. As we are going on this class, we have to introduce what is research methodology. Research, as you know, is a science, part of science, and is equally an inquiry for providing information, for solving problems. Methodology means the steps or process you use to achieve the given process or identify problems you're going to do. So in research methodology of 100 level, you need to know exactly what you need to do within a prescribed time. In research methodology, we talk about how do I start a project and end it within a prescribed time. Then, in this research methodology, we have five basic chapters in research methodology. And there are certain things we need to know in research methodology. You need to know the introduction, which is chapter 1, chapter 2, literature review, chapter 3, methodology itself. Chapter 4 is data presentation and analysis, while chapter 5 is about summary, conclusion, findings done. So in this course, we are going to deliberate within this period, these 5 chapters and references and appendix. All these things will be done within this period. We are going to do our lessons and we are going to capture it exactly. In writing a research, you need to know why we write research. So for you to write a research, you must know where is applicable. The need for it is that you have to get this research applied in a particular environment, in a given industry. Research can be applied in marketing. For you to do a market research, you have to get the data from all the things that is required. You're going to go to market, get the products, prices, everything concerning the market. And why are you doing those things? It's to enable you to get competitive advantage over the rivals. And it helps you equally to move your market to a given level. You can go from it by going to data market research. That helps you more in business. The production aspect of it will equally help you to get things done by procurement, by supply chain. Those in supply chain, make sure that they have the data. By getting the data, classifying this data, and able to get information and give to the management, and they use it to do a good production system. So everything have a process. So for human resources, where you can apply all this research, you have to get experts. You have to recruit experts. You have to scan the environment and know the experts. You advertise and know the actual people you are going to pick. Not question of picking non-experts to do a job. So in sales, if you get to the market, you're able to do a lot of things. Advertising industries. So this is where the research is mostly applied in business. And if you ask, why do you do research? We do research to get better information for decision making. When you do research, you get the better information, more informed about the knowledge, and you're able to deliver. And when you're taking a decision based on what you have gathered, classified, and analyze those things, and those things help you to do a good report. Secondly, you only get best organic competitive advantage. You bring the best competitive advantage when you are having a research, a thorough research. Another one is that your decision will equally use it for decision making. And this decision making is at the top management. When you send a report to them, you use those things and know what are we going to do in order to grow our business. What are we going to do based on what you have gathered? You're able to say, okay, we're going to increase our targets, we're going to deliver our targets in a specific time. And that takes to what we call research methodology and research itself. So when you are doing all these things, you will now get into what to say the concepts, constructs, the variables, all those things has to be in the research technique. And for you to carry out a research at this bounded level, you are expected to do a thorough work. You don't have to rush it. You have to get your supervisors assigned to you and meet one-on-one and discuss all the things step by step. This is research. Then the research methodology as it is a step you follow. So the first one is chapter one. When we approve, you submit your topic to the supervisor, two or three. The supervisor will now approve a particular one for you, and that one approved, you're going to write by first getting the introduction, the topic approved, then you get the introduction, that's chapter one. When you get to chapter one, the chapter one has about standards. You have chapter one, background of the study, statement of the problem, objective of study, objective of study, research questions, hypothesis. This from this wants to now define the background of study. When you want to talk about the background of the study, you talk about the global aspect of it. How does it affect the global aspect? From the global aspect of it, you come down to the regional aspect. From the regional, you come to the nearest area, that is their locality. So if you are writing a research as regards to Nigeria, then you look at the holistic environment. Globally, what is applicable? Regionally, what is applicable? Then the sector you are trying to do, and that particular industry, you have to mention the industry that's involved. If it's pharmaceutical industry, you have to specify the pharmaceutical industry. If it's beverage industry, you have to mention the beverage industry. If any manufacturing industry you want to do, you have to mention them. That's getting you down the line. You have introduced these things in a proper way, and that's the background of the study. Then you have to identify the problem. If you are writing a research, there must be a problem. If there's no problem, you're not writing a research. But because there's a problem, you have to identify the problem and make statement of the problem and describe that statement in that statement of problem. And when you are writing this research, your background of study should not be more than 2 pages or 2.5 pages. Your statement of problem, when you describe it, you have to describe what is involved, what is the challenges on this topic. When you describe the challenges on that topic, you'll be able to describe what is done, what is happening, and why it's not doing that. Like now, if somebody say the importation of drugs from the Asian countries in Nigeria has affected the performance of the drugs, Nigerian manufacturing company in the pharmaceutical industry. That is an example. So these are the things you have to highlight. What is the problem? The challenges facing the topic, facing the industry in that topic you are writing. Then you move on to objective. In that objective, we'll be talking about what is the main aim, the goal. What do you state the objective of that topic? Then research has given you the opportunity to have a specific objective. And that objective we are talking about has to be smart. What you mean by smart is specific objective in the sense that it has to be specific, it has to be measurable, it has to be accurate, it has to be reasonable, it's time bound. All these objectives you have mentioned here those objectives we have lined down must carry all these things. If you say that this objective, the effect of a particular thing has on this on performance, it has to be specific. It has to be measurable. When you go to the field and get the data, you classify the data, analyze that data. That is measurable. Then it has to be accurate as you measure that data. It has to be reasonable. That is, everybody will see it is reasonable, justifiable, and is within a time bound. You can't just do something and say give it an open-ended something. You have to do a research, say within this period, this thing has to be done. That's the way to do it. When you describe your objectives, you now move to research questions. Research question is derived from the objective. What is the effect of this on that? For example, what of the effect of economic sustainability on performance? That is the effect. We are asking what is the effect of revenue on performance of pharmaceutical industry? What's the impact or the effect of tax on return on investment? All these things are the questions we will ask, which follows the objective we have already stated earlier. From that objective and research questions, you move on to what we call research hypothesis. That statement of hypothesis is normally the null hypothesis going to test. You formulate the hypothesis and now test it at the analysis level. But right now, you state the hypothesis by saying there's no significant difference. There is difference. It has no significant effect. All those things are non-hypothesis. Why the alternative will be what you are going to discuss and say by carrying out the analysis at chapter 4, you have to say this is what is involved. For this reason, you either reject the hypothesis or accept it. The statement you made in the hypothesis gives you an opportunity to say this has no significance. But by the time you analyze it, you show that it has a significance. Therefore, you take the hypothesis and say that it has a significant effect on that study. That's a hypothesis. Then you move on to another one. Significance. Significance means what is the importance of those things? What is relevant to the people that are going to use it? To a student, to researchers, when you make research, you get knowledge of those things. To the industry, by the time they see what you have done, they're able to use it and increase their sales. They equally use it, improve their performance in the industry. All those things, government uses it and use it. Projects and equally do budgeting, do a lot of things. These are the significant, depending on the industry you are focusing on. If you are focusing on the pharmaceutical industry, it will help the pharmaceutical industry do a lot of things in there. Pharmaceutical Council of Nigeria, Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, if it's on pharmacy you are writing, you will get those things. If it's not agro industry, you will be talking about how the agriculture is affected, how it's going to help them. If it's on the oil industry, the oil industry will benefit from their research when you publish it. Because when you publish it, everybody will see it and they will use it and it will be good for you. So that is significant. The government will use it and plan their activities, how to support the manufacturing industry. In doing all those things, you move on with a good research. Then the next thing is the scope. When you are doing a research, you don't just write a research. It's not a thin paper. It's not the same line. Research, as I've already said, has 5 chapters, including references and appendices. So when you get to scope, you talk about the content, the context, and the geographical area. So you can't just write something without all those things. When you talk about content, you specify the content of that. The economic sustainability on performance. What is the industry affecting? Pharmaceutical industry, for example. How does this affect the pharmaceutical industry? That's the context. This content is the topic we are discussing, while the context is the industry. Then the geographical scope of that will help you to understand that this is the area I'm focusing. I'm focusing on Lagos. I'm focusing in Nigeria. I'm focusing in the Eastern Zone. I'm focusing in Western Zone. There's 6 geographical area in Nigeria. So you can focus in anywhere in Nigeria and pick their research and do it effectively. So this is how you carry out your research and deliberate on it with your supervisors one-on-one. When you finish chapter 1, you move on to chapter 2. And that is exactly, the supervisors will be able to see what you have done in chapter 1 before you move to chapter 2. The chapter 2 is about the literature review. Related literature review means other people's work. There's nothing you will write as a topic and say it has not been done by anybody. If you go to the website, you go to the journals, you will see a lot of things written similar to that. But we are not telling you to go and copy what somebody has written. You look at it and use it to do your own as a reference. And when you take it as a reference, you must cite it in your work to show that you didn't copy it. You are using it as a reference and it's as a guide and it increases your knowledge. Because the knowledge you pick from that one helps you to write your. So in chapter 2, you have conceptual review, theoretical review, empirical review, empirical summary, and the gap. In the conceptual aspect of it, you talk about the definition of all those things. You define the concept, what you are using in the research. When you define those concepts, you're able to tell the people, your readers, this is what I mean by this, and this is how I got it. And from explanation, people will understand you better in all those your research. As you're talking from your conceptual review, people will understand it. You are reviewing what people have said, and you are imbibing your own ideas as regards to that conceptual review. The theoretical review is what people have done and has been published. You quote them as a reference. You pick them and use them to increase their knowledge and increase their research so that people will see that people have done this before. From that, we are able to understand that this people have done this, and it says that this is and this is what's going to be. In the hypothesis, somebody may see that this is not workable. It has no effect. But by the time you carry your own research, be able to say that this has effect. So, but in someone's report, by the time you carry a research on a particular industry, it has no effect, it has no significant effect, it has nothing to do, it has no positive effect on it. But by the time you carry your own research, gather your data, classify your data, analyze your data, you show that the value you have is different from that, and it has effect on your own. And you can say because this person said it has no effect, you say it has no effect. Your own research will have an effect. So because of the theory you have gathered, the knowledge you have captured from it, it helps you to build up your own a good research. And that's what you have to do. The empirical aspect of the review will help you to pick exactly the date, the location, the topic, the person, so that whoever is reading you, what you have said, what you have discussed, you say, this man actually picked this thing. He's not saying it by his own knowledge. Actually, knowledge is power. By the time you pick knowledge from somewhere, you put in your own, you increase your knowledge. So when you pick all those things, and when we're looking at the empirical aspect of the review, we see that actually on so date, location, on this publication, this man picked these things, and this is what the result is all about. This is the finding of this man. And that will help you in your own finding and your own conclusion. That's the empirical review. Then the summary of the empirical review is you pick all the things we have done in empirical review, summarize them in such a way that you'll be able to say, based on this, we get significant on that, and that helps you to move on. The gap, is there any gap in this research? Or just them, the gap. And that's why you look at the gap. When you look at the gap, you're able to close the gap based on what you have done. When you do all those things, you get it in a perfect order. And when you submit the chapter 1 to your supervisor, after reading it, you must make some corrections. And you get back, correct those things. Don't just think that supervisors don't read it. They don't have time. Supervisors have time to read line by line on what you have written. And your manuscript has to be typed because your writing will be invisible. When you type it and send it to your supervisor, you have to read it clearly and get you the corrections. And you do the corrections right away and send back to him with the manuscript of the first one so that you'll be looking at what you have done with the corrections that's given you if we actually done the correction. If you have done that, we then move to the next chapter. As you move to the next chapter, which is chapter 2, you do the same thing, do your corrections as is. As soon as you write a correction, do that correction as stated. And if anyone you don't understand, tell your supervisor, can we agree on this? He'll be able to explain it to you in good terms so that you're able to move forward to the next stage. Your supervisors are human beings. You must see them and discuss with them one-on-one. You don't need to call them on phone in order, you need to call them on phone quite right, but you need to see them one-on-one to show you exactly what you need to do before you can move to the next step. Don't gather all the research work, pack all of them, and bring to the supervisor. No, that is not done. What is done is one chapter, next chapter, next chapter. Then you move to chapter 3, which is research methodology. When you move to research methodology, that's why you have different things you have to discuss about the research itself. The research methodology has its own things. We talk about research design, descriptive and non-descriptive. Right? We talk about descriptive, and non-descriptive. Then you talk about type of survey you want to do. Is it experimental? Is it experimental? Is it exploratory? So all these things has to be described in the research design. When you talk about what you want to do, I'm going to use experiment. It's scientific, it's empirical. You have to carry a lab test and get a result. That is an experiment. You have to carry out a survey. That survey, you have to do it in such a way that you have to get a result. Exploratory, you are talking about using historical data to do a research, a survey. Based on the data you have collected from somewhere, you do your own. And based on that, you analyze your own. If you want to do a survey, all this has to come into play. When you talk about research methodology, because you said it has a process and steps to be followed in order to provide information. You have to follow the same step. You don't have to jumble it. You must follow it one after the other. 3.1 is research design, source of data. 3.2. So when you get to 3.2, you're talking about source of data. You have to identify my data. Is it a primary data or secondary data? Primary data, you have to generate the data. You have to generate a questionnaire. You go to the field, receive the questionnaire, collect the data back, collect the results of the questionnaire, back and classify them. When you classify them, you are able to now say, this is what I have as a. If it's secondary data, you go to Nigerian Stock Exchange. If it's one that involves Nigerian Stock Exchange and is a quoted industry, an organization that is quoted in the Nigerian Stock Exchange, you go to Nigerian Stock Exchange or you go to the company itself and collect the annual report and data. When you get that thing, you'll be able to work on it. Based on that, you'll be able to analyze the data. So if it's an experimental, you're able to carry out scientific experiments to get the results as when you should. So the primary data, as we said, source of data is using the questionnaire, observation method, interview method, get this data, whichever way you want to get it. But this one involves going to the field, using the questionnaire, distributing the questionnaires, and getting the questionnaire back from the respondent. Then observation, go to the field as well, observe what is happening, and get the results. None of this is not jungle. It's a step, and you follow this step, you're able to get the right thing. If you don't get it right, you won't get it right from the step. You follow the step, you get it right. Then area of the study. As mentioned earlier as it spoke, we are talking the area of study is pan-Nigeria. That means the six geographical regions in Nigeria will be involved. We are talking about Western region, means all the things we are talking about will be on Western region, Southeast region, South-South, North Central, Northeast. All these geographical zones has to be mentioned in their area of study in chapter 3. Then you talk about the population. Your population, you have to mention the population of the study is important. You have to discuss the population of the study. This is the population you are going to study, and this is the yardstick you are going to use to measure it. And that from that population, you get a sample size. Because if you're going to take a total population, it will be difficult for you to do these things. Supposing you are going to study a pharmaceutical industry in Lagos, Lagos alone, it's hectic. So for you, we have more than 30 pharmaceutical industries in Lagos alone. Then manufacturing industries, beverage industries, if you're going to study a particular industry in Lagos, it's hectic. So what you have to do is to take a sample. And sample is part of that population. With that statistical sample you have done, you use a formula to get that. When you get that, you'll be able to get a particular size of the population. And that gives you a representation, part of the population. Is allowed unless the sample size is less than 30. Then you can take a population total enumeration. But as long as it's large, you are required to take a sample size of that thing. When you take a sample size, you're able to determine the sample size with a formula, which in the next lectures we'll be using graphics, and you need to know Excel very well so that we're able to put it in Excel, show you how to determine a sample size. There's a formula that you can do, random stocks. You just put the number of population, you give you a sample size. With the formula, you get those things done. You can calculate it manually. With your calculator, you get the sample size. Based on the sample size, you start working on it. Instrument. Well, you now look at the instrument for the data. What are you going to use? I'm going to use questionnaire. When you use questionnaire method, how do you apply the questionnaire method? This is the way you're going to do it. You're able to add all the things you need in your research. Then the validity of the research instrument. You have to test whether that instrument is valid. Is it okay? The reliability of that instrument. We test it. In most cases, we use correlation to test the validity and the reliability. At a certain point, You see, based on this point, 0.7 we say is positive. 5 is positive. Below 5 is negative. So the reliability of the confidence and reliability of these things we are doing show that this instrument is okay. It's going to give me a good result. That's what you do. Then now adopt method of data analysis. What method will I use to analyze this data? There's a lot of software that can help you to analyze the data easily. You use SPSS, use eView, and so many other ones. Use even Excel. Then in coming to analyze these are the software that can help you analyze them. But in analyzing them, you have a test assessment. Am I using a regression analysis? Am I using mean central tendency? Measures of central tendency, mean, median, mode. Am I going to use that to do it? Whatever one you want to do, you specify it in this chart. And tell the supervisor, this is what I want to use. The supervisor has prerogative to tell you, use this one. If you are using this one, you're able to achieve a good result because your supervisor has a knowledge of what you're doing. So as soon as you use a particular test system, you're able to arrive at a good answer. And that helps you to analyze it. So as we move on to this lecture, we have to ensure that every student in 400 level that is doing research has to do it in a proper way without juggling the process. The steps are followed systematically. Research methodology is a systematic way of carrying a research. When you do it systematically with your supervisor, be able to get good results. And research methodology in every institution has one of the highest credit loads. So if you have research methodology, it could be 4 credit loads, 6 credit loads, and if you get a reasonable mark on it, boost your mark and your average, your CGPA will increase. But if you do a shabby job, you fail and you repeat that, and the supervisor may decide to change the topic. If you copy, the supervisor will know. If you just copy and paste and do another person's work, copy somebody's work and paste, the supervisor will know. If you do anything wrong, the supervisor will know. So the best option for you is to follow your supervisor's advice. Do it step by step. When you discuss this, every chapter, you show your supervisor, the supervisor will be able to go ahead with next, be able to do that. This is what we mean by research methodology. In chapter 4, we talk about data presentation and analysis. The materials for this things will come to you as soon as we get it ready. We send it to your mails, you're able to catch up with what we are copying and discussing in this research methodology. So the research methodology will help you do a lot of things in the industry, in the management decisions, everywhere. That is the need. So in chapter 4, as we are talking about, you have data presentation. Data presentation, when you get to data presentation, you present your data in tables, rows and columns. That's why you need to know Excel. So you have to know the rows and columns in tables. That gives you a pictorial representation. You can even use normal distribution. You can use charts to represent your data. But in most cases, you put it in most cases, you put your data in tables, rows and columns, so that you're able to analyze it easily. So yeah, the supervisor will be probably catching up. If it's ambiguous, then your supervisor will get confused. Make sure that it's simple so that you're able to get it right. That's the best thing you can do. and you analyze the data. So when you analyze the data, you're able to get a good result. This is pure and straightforward system data analysis, research methodology. No jumble style, no jumping of style, no jumbling. Make sure that you have it in step by step. Research methodology is a process and step to be followed to get provide you a better information. And this information you provide is for decision making. Some people say, why do we do it? You do it in order to help you to achieve the result. When you try to achieve that result, the management you need to achieve. Based on this, we are running up the course for today as regards to the introduction to research methodology. So if you have any question, give it, send it, be able to reply in a few minutes and answer you. By the time we get to physical or offline lectures, be able to demonstrate a lot of things on the whiteboard so that we're able to catch up. Like I said, hypothesis, we put the hypothesis, mean is equal to 0 and mean is not equal to 0. That means it has no significance. You say mean is less than 0, means it's less than 0, or mean is more than 0. Mean means use the Greek word meal is less than 0. So those ones, you will see it when we write it on it. When we get to offline lectures, we're able to see it on a whiteboard. Lecturers, those ones outside lectures, we see it by the lecturers having it, discussing with them by interpreting the hypothesis. The hypothesis is very important because that hypothesis is what you are going to analyze in chapter 4. Thank you.
Yeah.